Oh, look at these two. All right? Come on, you're okay. Oh, what? Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy. That was the moment Christine Catt and Andy Bryans caught on camera at a Coldplay concert, and now explosive new footage has surfaced. Footage that could lead to one of the most expensive divorces in tech history, with whispers of a possible $38 million settlement, a $154 billion family fortune, and a $2.2 million mansion. All hanging in the balance, this is the kiss that cost millions. Picture it, you're in premium seats at Gillette Stadium. Coldplay is in the middle of their music, of the Spheres world tour. The atmosphere is electric, the crowd buzzing, and then the kiss cam lands on you. For most people, it is fun, maybe a little embarrassing. But for Andy Bryans and Christine Catt, that single moment triggered a chain reaction. A chain reaction that could cost them their careers, their reputations, and potentially tens of millions of dollars. What makes this story so fascinating isn't just the scandal. It is the scale of wealth and power at stake when that camera rolled on July 16, 2025. We were talking about top executives from $1 billion tech company, ties to one of Boston's oldest and wealthiest families, and a web of financial consequences that could make your head spin before everything unraveled. Andy Bryans wasn't just any CEO, he led Astronomer, a New York-based data infrastructure company that in July 2023 reached every startup's dream unicorn status with a valuation of more than $1.3 billion. Bryans had decades of experience with companies like Lacework Cyberease and a personal fortune estimated between $20 and $70 million, but his wealth wasn't just numbers on paper. This was a man living a life of luxury, matching his success with a $1.4 million home in North Massachusetts, filled with all the luxuries you'd expect from a top tech executive's residence, plus a private getaway in Kennebunk, Maine, an escape from corporate life pressures. His CEO compensation was on another level, a seven-figure salary, potentially over $1 million a year, plus bonuses that could dwarf most people's lifetime earnings. And perhaps most valuable of all, equity. As CEO of a billion-dollar company, Bryans likely held a significant stake. Some estimates put it at up to 5% of Astronomer's valuation. That alone could mean at least $10 million in stock options. And then there was the woman in those premium seats next to him, Christine Catt. And if Bryans' success sounded impressive, Christine's family ties took things to another level entirely. She wasn't just Astronomer's chief people officer, she was connected to one of the most prestigious and wealthiest families in American history, with over 20 years in HR leadership at major tech companies, scaling teams from hundreds to nearly 1,000 employees her own. Salary likely topped $600,000 a year, plus stock options that could be worth millions. But Christine's personal net worth of $3 to $5 million was nothing compared to the fortune she had access to through marriage. Her husband, Andrew Catt, was the CEO of Privateer Rum, and a member of the legendary Catt family of Boston, whose fortune in 2025 was estimated at over $15 billion, adjusted from a 1972 report, valuing them at $200 million. This was generational wealth older than the United States, built on 18th century rum and shipping, later expanding into chemicals and carbon black. Their influence so ingrained in Boston's elite circles, it was immortalized in a famous local poem about the families who shaped the city. The lifestyle that came with this heritage was visible everywhere in Christine and Andrew's life, from their stunning $2.2 million New England-style home overlooking the Atlantic in Rye, New Hampshire, purchased with a $1.6 million mortgage, to another home in the same exclusive area. Their coastal portfolio, a testament to generational wealth. Andrew's business, Privateer Rum, wasn't just a side project, but a premium spirits brand with bottles selling for over $100, the kind of luxury only old money could build. So when that kiss cam landed on Andy Bryans and Christine Catt during Coldplay's performance, it didn't just show two people sharing a moment, it revealed a world of wealth, power, and luxury, stretching from Silicon Valley boardrooms to Boston's most exclusive social circles. And with Chris Martin's lighthearted remark about an affair or shyness, the fuse was lit for one of the most expensive and viral romantic scandals the corporate world had ever seen. Within hours, the video posted by TikTok user Instagrace exploded, racing past 125 million views as internet sleuths worked overtime to identify the mystery couple whose awkward reaction had suddenly captured the world's attention. But this wasn't just another viral clip. This was a financial catastrophe unfolding in real-time broadcast through the most powerful megaphone in human history, social media, and the investigation moved at lightning speed within hours. Bryans and Catt were identified, and with that revelation came a shocking realization: just how much money was now at stake. The corporate fallout was immediate. Astronomer, the billion-dollar company Byron had, led to unicorn status, went into crisis mode on July 18, 2025. Just 2 days after the concert, the company announced a formal investigation. Both Byron and Kat were placed on leave. The official statement was polite but decisive, saying Astronomer was committed to its values and that its leaders must set the standard in conduct and accountability. But in corporate speak, this was clear they had become toxic assets and needed to be removed quickly to protect the brand and valuation. Byron was the first domino to fall on July 19th, just 3 days after the kiss cam moment. He resigned as CEO. The board accepted without hesitation. Co-founder Pete DeJoy stepped in as interim CEO in the corporate world. That kind of speed says everything. The risk was too great for a slow process. Byron wasn't just walking away from a title. He was walking away from one of the most lucrative executive packages in the industry. A 7-figure salary, possibly over $1 million per year, plus performance bonuses that could double or triple that amount. And the real blow was the loss of equity, with some experts believing he may have held up to 5% of Astronomer's shares at a $1.3 billion valuation, worth at least $65 million, much of it likely unvested, meaning by resigning, he may have forfeited tens of millions in future gains, especially with Astronomer having just secured a $93 million investment led by Bain Ventures, a growth path that could have turned his stake into hundreds of millions if the company went public or was acquired. Christine Kat lasted a few days longer, but on July 24, 2025, she too resigned, confirmed by outlets like NBC News and Fox Business. Her exit meant walking away from a salary likely over $600,000 a year, plus stock options granted during her short tenure at the company. But the bigger disaster was in their personal lives for Andy Bryans. The fallout was brutal. His marriage began to collapse in full public view, with his wife Megan crying. Byron moving quickly within days of the video going viral. She removed him from her social media profiles, shut down her Facebook and Instagram, and reportedly left their Northborough, Massachusetts home, relocating to their luxury Kennebunk, Maine property. Legal experts immediately began calculating the cost of a divorce under Massachusetts' 50-50 marital asset law. Megan could be entitled to half of Byron's estimated $20 to $70 million fortune betting platform. Polymarket even opened odds on whether they would divorce, starting at 24%. And climbing as details emerged. The consensus among legal analysts was that Byron faced a potential divorce settlement of up to $38 million, including property, the Massachusetts home, the Maine retreat, and any remaining equity in Astronomer or other investments. To put that in perspective, $38 million would rank among the most expensive corporate divorces in recent memory, instantly making Megan one of the wealthiest divorced women in America. Despite her modest background as an educator at Bancroft School with a net worth estimated between $300,000 and $500,000, her career focused on inclusive education for students with language-based learning differences. A far cry from the tech executive lifestyle of her husband. The scandal deepened when a Yahoo report claimed leaked messages suggested Byron had spent $40,000 on explicit video calls with an online creator, adding another layer of complexity to the looming divorce. The corporate world watched in disbelief as two senior executives at a billion-dollar company saw their careers erased in less than a week. Interim CEO Pete DeJoy tried to steer the narrative, calling the attention unusual and surreal in a LinkedIn post, reminding everyone that Astronomer's product and customer work hadn't changed, but the leadership damage was undeniable. And in the end, the irony was impossible to ignore. Andy Bryans had spent his career building companies that managed and analyzed data, yet his own life was now being dissected by millions online. The same digital infrastructure that made him rich was now broadcasting his downfall in real time. While Byron's financial world was collapsing, the spotlight began shifting to another angle of the story. One steeped in history, power, and a fortune so vast it had survived revolutions, recessions, and centuries of change. The astronomical wealth of the Kat family and the luxury empire Christine had married into to grasp the scale of what she was connected to. You have to look back over 250 years. The Kat fortune estimated at $15.4 billion in 2020. Adjusted from a 1972 New York Times report that valued it at $200 million, was not the product of sudden tech success or a lucky investment. It was the kind of wealth that predated the United States itself, rooted in 18th century trade, rum and shipping, and later expanding into chemicals, gas, and carbon black. This was old money in its purest form, a dynasty so entrenched in Boston's elite circles that poems were written about them, their influence extending into philanthropy. With the Kat family charitable trusts supporting Harvard, MIT, Norwich University, and the Perkins School. For the blind in Boston, they were known as Brahmins, the aristocratic elite who shaped the region's culture, economy, and society. For generations, Christine's husband, Andrew Catt, was the modern face of this dynasty as CEO and co of Privateer Rum. He carried on the family's historical ties to the spirits industry, but with a premium twist, producing bottles that sold for over $100 each to a clientele that valued heritage as much as quality. Andrew's personal net worth, estimated between $5 and $30 million, seemed almost trivial compared to the family fortune. Because when you are part of an empire, worth over 15 billion, personal net worth is just a number. The true value lies in lifestyle connections and security. That money like this guarantees that lifestyle was evident in every corner of Andrew and Christine's life, from their $2.2 million New England-style home in Rye, New Hampshire, purchased in February 2025, with a $1.6 million mortgage, to another residence in the same elite coastal community. The kind of properties that old money families pass down through generations. Even the decision to finance the home rather than pay in full was a calculated move, common among billionaires to keep capital working elsewhere. And when the scandal hit, Andy Bryans' world seemed to crumble. Overnight, Christine stood in a very different position. Her $600,000 salary and stock options from Astronomer were gone, but the Catt fortune remained untouched, insulating her from the financial freefall that Byron now faced. In fact, some observers speculated that the controversy had unintentionally brought publicity to Privateer Rum. The kind of brand exposure money can't buy, and history has shown that luxury labels sometimes thrive in the glow of notoriety, especially when the faces involved are wealthy, attractive, and living lives of drama and glamour. The story became cultural currency, spawning memes, TikToks, and even a parody video game called Coldplay Canoodlers, where players searched for the couple hidden. In a pixelated crowd, conspiracy theories also emerged, like the viral but false claim that The Simpsons had predicted the scandal, fueled by an AI-generated image quickly debunked by the show's own Al Jean, who reminded fans that they wrote satire, not prophecy, but the fact that people looked for patterns at all spoke volumes about how deeply this moment had embedded itself into public consciousness. And through it all, neither Christine nor Andrew Catt spoke publicly, but photographers still caught glimpses of her one image, showing her without her wedding ring, tending plants at their estate, a quiet signal that even within the walls of extreme wealth, personal consequences could still be felt. And by July 26, 2025, the frenzy had begun to cool. Astronomer moved forward under Pete DeJoy. The media shifted to other headlines, and the couple at the center of the storm retreated into silence. No divorce filings, no official statements, just endless speculation. And that was perhaps the most striking truth of all, that a 10-second kiss in a stadium could rip open a window into two worlds of wealth. One built over decades through the grind of the tech industry, and another fortified for centuries by inheritance and influence, revealing that no matter how high the walls of fortune might be, the reach of a viral moment can climb over them without warning. And while Christine and Andrew Catt slipped behind the high hedges of Rye, their silence becoming its own kind of statement. The corporate fallout of the scandal began to take shape in a way that pointed toward one man, Andy Bryans, the CEO, whose name had not dominated the early headlines, but whose role behind the scenes was far more consequential than. The public yet realized Bryans had always played the game differently. He was not a loud figure. He did not flood his feed with curated images of yachts or charity galas. Instead, his influence moved like a tide, steady, relentless, reshaping landscapes. Quietly, and when Astronomer imploded in the wake of the viral Coldplay kiss, it was Bryans who found himself both firefighter and architect, tasked with containing the damage, while also designing what would come next. Those who knew him said he had the patience of an investor and the instincts of a chess master, that he could read a board 10 moves ahead and still make it look effortless. But even he could not ignore the complexity of this moment. The reputational mess was tangled with shareholder anxiety, regulatory curiosity, and the constant hum of media fascination. Bryans spent those weeks in closed-door meetings with attorneys, board members, and a rotating cast of crisis management specialists. Each session layered with financial projections, legal briefings, and the unspoken question of whether the company could survive with its soul intact. What made his position uniquely precarious was not just the corporate risk, but the personal optics. Bryans had long been seen as a bridge between old money stability and new money disruption, able to speak fluently to both worlds. And now he was watching a public drama that connected both in ways that no PR plan could untangle. By some accounts, Bryan considered cutting ties entirely, liquidating positions and moving into stealth mode until the noise died down. But his counter instinct told him there was opportunity buried inside the wreckage. If he could endure the storm, in the weeks that followed, his movements became more deliberate, carefully timed public appearances, small strategic leaks to the press designed to reframe the scandal as a test of leadership rather than a symptom of chaos. And as the market began to stabilize, Bryan's own profile quietly rose, not as the man caught in the middle, but as the one who steered the ship through waters that would have sunk lesser executives. Yet those closest to the situation understood that the storm had left its mark, that no matter how polished the earnings calls became, or how calm his voice sounded in interviews, Bryan was now tied to a story that had mixed boardroom strategy with tabloid spectacle, forever merging his name with a kiss that was never his. In boardrooms, whispers had grown louder. Some directors privately questioned whether Andy's leadership style could keep pace with a rapidly evolving industry. Shareholders were watching quarterly reports with sharp eyes, noting every missed forecast, every dip in revenue, every opportunity seized by a rival instead. To the public, he still appeared confident, even untouchable. But behind closed doors, he was engaged in the fight of his career. One of the biggest challenges came in the form of a high-stakes acquisition deal. It was supposed to cement the company's dominance in a new sector, but negotiations dragged on for months. Every delay seemed to invite more skepticism. Analysts began predicting that the deal might collapse entirely, a blow that would not only hurt the company's growth, but also Andy's reputation as a closer. Still, Andy wasn't the type to be backed into a corner without a plan. He began restructuring leadership, replacing longtime executives with fresh faces from outside the company, people unafraid to challenge his ideas. It was a risky move, one that rattled some of his allies, but also signaled that he was ready to fight. This period also marked a shift in his personal public persona. Andy had always been measured in interviews, speaking in calculated phrases that left little room for interpretation. Now, he was showing flashes of something else, directness, even defiance. He gave speeches that hinted at frustration with short-term thinking in the industry, and he challenged investors to see the long game, but the pressure was unrelenting. As the media began speculating about succession plans, Andy understood that every decision he made could either secure his legacy or hasten his exit. This wasn't just about leading a company anymore. It was about proving to himself and everyone watching that he still had the vision and the will to stay at the top.
This video covers legal allegations in a news context. All claims are from official filings and no guilt is implied until proven in court. Please keep all discussions respectful. Allegations are not facts until proven in court.